On this episode of the Newman Bond, join Lori Benge and Dr. Matthew Umbarger as they talk about the ASC Associate Program, their experience as an associate, and how to become one.
Well, good morning. I guess it's more afternoon now. I just want to thank you all for showing. Some of you it's going to be a reinforcement and preaching to the choir, but hopefully you can take away something new from today. I want to tell a little bit about myself. I am, like she said, I'm a board of trustees. I am an associate and a sojourner. I work for the Adores directly. I am their U.S. Region Vocation Director and ASC Family Director. I've actually worked for them for 27 years in October. I can tell you I came from the corporate world, and I didn't expect to stay with the sisters at that point when I went to work for them. I was planned to go back into HR, banking, something, and here I am 27 years later. So you know what kind of hold and what kind of love I have for the sisters and the spirituality. I've grown tremendously through those years, and I owe a lot to them. I am an associate and sojourner. I've been an associate, I don't even know how many years now, and I don't even know how many years for sojourner, a lot. So it's a blessing to be on the other side and to kind of dual role. I do have a daughter that's an alum here as well, a son-in-law, and 3 grandchildren. So they keep me busy when I'm not around here. So enough about me. I just want to start by saying this is not it's a sharing, not a pitch to say for everybody to become an associate. It's an invitation. It's an invitation to think about your baptismal call and how each of us are invited to grow deeper in our faith. You said the right one. There we go. So how did the associate program begin? It was over 200 years ago. We are part of the ASC family now, but 200 years ago it began in Rome with a vision of Gaspar del Buffalo and Saint Maria de Matthias. Their dream was simple. It was to build a faith community built on the redemptive blood of Christ. At first it began with the laity, and pretty quickly it spread to religious and the priests in the area. And then in the United States, the program started in the 1970s in Roma, Illinois, and then it spread across the U.S. and in the 1980s, around the 1980s, and in Wichita it began. There we go. So who are we today? You fast forward, and associates are a very diverse group. We're men and women, single and married, lay and religious. What we share in common is mission, to serve the dear neighbor and to live spirituality rooted in compassion, reconciliation, and unconditional love. There are associates in more than 20 states and more than 10 active groups. And here's the beautiful thing. Every group looks different. Every person's journey is different. Some meet for prayer, some meet for study, some meet for ministry, some meet during their workplace. Some meet in person, some meet by Zoom, at social events every month, some every quarter, some maybe just once a year, and they just communicate by email. But no matter how they gather, every group is tied together by the spirituality of Saint Maria de Matthias. And there's a map here that shows all the different states that we actually have associates in, so it's pretty widespread. And it doesn't stop at the group level. Associates carry their spirituality into everyday lives, into their families, into their parishes, into their schools, into prayer groups, and obviously into work atmospheres. One of the greatest gifts of the associate is the diversity. There isn't just one way to live the call. Each associate brings their unique expression, and we get to learn from each other. That's why associates continue to be a loving, prayerful, reconciling presence in the world today. They extend the reach of the Adorers across boundaries and into new places where St. Maria's life and mission is very much alive. So before I go on, we talked about compassion, reconciliation, and unconditional love. So which of those do you feel the most challenged in your life today? I promise you that on some level each day, some more than others, you may feel you struggle with any of these. But that is why community is so important, because you're not alone. You're able to share those challenges together. So you might be wondering, could I really be an associate? And those that are getting ready to make commitment, you might still be wondering that. The answer is yes. Everyone is invited. If you're drawn to the Adorers' mission, if you feel connected to the spirituality, then you might already have the heart of the Adorers and the Associate Program. It's not exclusive. It's not only for Catholics. Everyone is welcome. So then why should I consider it? Because it's one way to live your baptismal call. Think about your own baptismal call. Where do you feel most called to serve now? In your family, in your parish, or at work? We all have these callings in common. And when we share with others, we grow stronger on our journey. Now I know some of you might be thinking, I can't possibly add one more thing to my life or to my schedule. And you're probably right. In your mind, that's very true. But here's the good news. Many of you are already living this, so it's not really about adding something. It's about enhancing what you're already doing, and maybe even making life a little easier because you're learning and sharing in community instead of carrying it alone. So if you're interested and something strikes you that it's something that you want to live a little more deeper, the good news is you don't have to make a decision overnight. This is a journey. It's your journey. It's something you're going to live and enjoy and grow in your own life along with others. So if you're curious, here's 3 simple steps. Have a conversation with someone. It could be one of us connected with the ASC family, or a spiritual director, or a priest, or someone that you just feel comfortable with. 2, learn more. Explore the story of St. Maria and the Adorers and the spirituality. We have plenty of resources, and we will meet you right where you are in your life. Ask questions. Don't ever be afraid to ask anything or challenge yourself. Your journey is your own personal journey. You're going to have different questions than anyone else, so don't be afraid to ask them. That's where the true growth begins. So in closing, I'd like to take a moment of reflection. Ask yourself, what would it mean for me to take one step closer, deeper into my baptismal call, my own personal journey, my own personal spirituality, in light of anything else that's going on in my life? How would I look at that this week? I encourage you to take this with you as you leave today. Take it in prayer. And if you have any questions or you want to share and talk about it, feel free to reach out to me or, like I said, anyone else.
So I became an associate, we were talking a little bit before, probably 6 or 7 years ago. So back then I was teaching a course with Amy Seipel, who used to be here. She was a nurse, a nursing faculty member, non-Catholic. And she had invited me to a Bible study that the associates group that was here was having on the Gospel of Matthew. There was something, I think they'd had a debate about something. They were hoping I would referee, I don't know, solve a problem. I don't know. I can't remember exactly I remember it was Matthew. And so I started attending this Bible study with them, and yeah, it was fun. And then before I knew it, like a week or two later, I get a call saying, "You've been attending the associates group. Why don't you become an associate?" And I didn't have a good excuse, so I started going to across the street, sitting with Sister Sophia. She was the lady who brought me in, and yeah, that was a delight. That group has since faded away, and I'm the only person left from that group now. Everyone else dissipated, they're gone. Some of them have passed on to their reward, and so now I'm the only one, and I've not been a very good associate recently. COVID really interfered with things. For a while I was trying to go over and visit with the sisters pretty regularly and things like that, and it really just kind of interfered. So I'm happy to see that there's a little more incentive, and hopefully we get something going here again. For me personally, becoming an associate, there were a couple things. I had for a long time thought about either becoming an oblate or a third order, a member of a religious order, something like this. I was in the Holy Land. The Franciscans were very special to me. I considered becoming a third order Franciscan, and so I was already sort of discerning this sort of life, adding to my life as a Catholic, and then it made sense, since the Adorers sponsor our university, to embrace their spirituality. That was the primary motive. I had a little bit of a history with the sisters already when we moved here 10 years ago, 11 years ago. It was difficult for us to find housing for a while. I was trying to, we had a house that we were preparing to buy that fell through. And for the first semester of my first year here, I was commuting from Chanute, Kansas. And I talked with the sisters, and they put me up graciously. I lived with them off and on for that whole semester. And I always, in my mind, it was kind of like Snow White and the Seven Dwarves in reverse. Like here I was with my beard and everything, and staying with the sisters. And I really, that was a wonderful way to get started here at Newman, because I got acquainted with the sisters right from the beginning, exposed to their spirituality, and yeah, I'm very grateful for that time. So it was kind of a natural progression. I remember when I found out about the associates that semester, I thought, well, that might be something that I do. And then I put it off, and like, now's not the right time. I'm just starting, and Amy Seipel and Sister Sophia would not let me put it off any longer. So here I am. The real reason I became an associate, I was reflecting on this yesterday, like, why did I become an associate? And I think the biggest reason, I am a convert to the Catholic Church, but that initial my conversion didn't start with that, and my conversion didn't end with that. I'm continuing, with God's help, to be converted and to turn from myself, turn towards Christ, and turn towards my brothers and sisters and serving them, which is difficult. It's a difficult process, loving others, loving God and loving others, and loving yourself less, putting yourself in the proper, loving yourself the right way and not inordinately. And I would say becoming an associate was a part of that conversion process. I was really taken by the the precious blood spirituality. And I was grateful for the time that Sister Sophia took with guiding me through that, exposing me to that. She really trained me in that in our time together. And the phrase you heard a little while ago, dear neighbor, I'd heard that a little bit associated with the adorers. It wasn't clear to me, like, I thought it sounds a little trite, right? Oh, dear neighbor. It sounds casual, but in the writings of Sister Maria de Matias, it has a very heavy sense. It's talking about the price that Christ paid in order to purchase us with his blood. And it's a reminder that when we relate with others, the neighbors in our midst, and even the neighbors far away from us, that they are not just, an individual who might be annoying us that day, or, my students who are plagiarizing or copying from their, an AI chatbot or whatever to accomplish their homework, but that's an individual that Christ purchased with his blood. They are precious beyond my capability. I cannot put a value on that person because Christ already put a value on them. There's a price tag on them, which is his blood. And they are of infinite worth then. And so it should change how we relate to others. It should also change how we relate to ourselves. And I was grateful for that reminder, and it's something that I think on my better days here animates what I do as a professor. And on my less good days here, it's a call back to conversion. Last night I was reading, for something else, I happened to be reading the letter of 1 Clement from the Apostolic Fathers. So Clement was, we say, the fourth bishop of Rome, fourth pope. First century. At the end of the first century, he writes a letter to the church in Corinth. And in this letter, he actually talks about the precious blood of Christ. And I was reminded that precious blood spirituality is not a new thing. It did not start with St. Gaspar de Buffalo. It didn't start with St. Maria de Matias. They were picking up something that had been handed to them. And if you'll indulge me, I want to read this, a few verses from his first letter to the church in Corinth. He says, "We write these things, dear friends, not only to admonish you, but also to remind ourselves. For we are in the same arena, and the same contest awaits us. Therefore, let us abandon empty and futile thoughts, and let us conform to the glorious and holy rule of our tradition. Indeed, let us note what is good and what is pleasing and what is acceptable in the sight of him who made us." And then he says, "Let us fix our eyes on the blood of Christ and understand how precious it is to his Father. Because, being poured out for our salvation, it won for the whole world the grace of repentance. Let us review all the generations in turn and learn that from generation to generation, the Master has given an opportunity for repentance to those who desire to turn to him." So again, let us fix our eyes on the blood of Christ and understand how precious it is to his Father. That is in the first century of the church. Clement is writing that. St. Maria de Matias picks up this baton that's been preserved through the centuries, and now she passes it down to us. And being an associate is one way that I'm feebly trying to grasp hold of that baton. So, thank you. I'd be willing to answer questions if there are any. Please don't feel compelled, but...
I don't have a question, but I
Sure.
have a statement. You have always lived from day one the life of an associate. And there's no no level of good, bad. You've always been a walking image of it. So,
Well, I clean up nice. So, there's some bad, yeah, but thank you. Yeah, so yeah, yeah, there are days when I grumble and days, yeah. So I need the grace of the precious blood myself. Yeah, but thank you. Yep.
In a world of selfies, what's your advice for us to not be letting ourselves first?
Ooh, yeah, good question. So, as I heard you said, in a world of selfies, yeah. How do we love others and and ourselves less? Yeah, great question. There's so much. There's so many different opportunities to do that. There's not one way, of course. The thing I'm being convicted of more and more, I need to do more volunteer work outside of Newman. There's plenty to do here, but what I find is being here, I can put it on my self-evaluation at the end of the year, if that makes sense. And I feel like I need to get out of the walls of Newman more. This is something I've been thinking about. And this is something that I can do with the spirituality of the adorers animating me as well. Because the more that I work on my own little pet projects, and I've got a bunch of them, and I'm never getting to the end of, and I find that it turns me in on myself more and more. I don't know if I've ever taken a selfie. I guess I've taken 2 or 3. So I'm not really a selfie taker, but I take selfies in other ways. And just I'm occupied with my goals, my little ambitions, and putting the brakes on those and helping someone else is a way to draw our eyes from ourselves. I need more of this. And yeah, that's, some of that comes through my family, some of it comes through my parish, but I think even, I feel more of a call more and more to even go beyond that and interact with people in our community. Yeah. Sure.
I think so. In this day and age, there's really no way to get away from selfies.
Yeah.
However, it's holding the context of why we take selfies. I have a really good friend that constantly, it's good to claim your gifts and that humility. So taking a selfie is not bad in and of itself. It's, are you holding who you are and who gave you the gifts and the beauty that you hold, giving that glory back to who deserves it.
Oh, yeah.
So, if they're taking it for the wrong reasons, then they need to check themselves and figure out why. But otherwise, if they're using it for the greater good, then so.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I guess a selfie can be a witness, a testimony as well. Yeah, that's nice.
I kind of had the same reaction. I'd say, the fact that you're taking a selfie or the fact that you're doing service here on Newman's campus doesn't mean you're motivated, to become famous or
Right.
to put that on your annual report. I think what's more important is what's the motivation for that focus. If that self-focus is a motivation for improvement and helping to understand personally how you're living God's call, then that's not bad, right?
Right. But it can be, I'm always, I think you're absolutely right. I'm not ashamed of, I want to do more for Newman too. And I would, and finding balance is difficult. Fulfilling my primary vocation to my family and then, my vocation that God's called me to here at Newman. But then always examining my motives though. I think that's the key. Yeah, it can definitely be a part of all of this. It should be.
I get a lot more blessings out of it.
Really fun experience.
Really,